Back again. Look, I came across a video yesterday that was I thought was pretty good. I've been looking at what's going on behind the scenes. Why are we at war with Iran? Why did we invade in Venezuela? Um, what are the who's why are the national banks and international banks buying gold when just a few years ago they said gold was just a irrelevant rock. There was another term for that, but just a rock didn't have any value. Why are all these things going on? And so I've been looking into this just because I'm just looking at what's going on in the world. I just want to know what's true, what's not true. I hear, I listen to different people on their different podcasts coming out with all these ideas and everything. And, some of them, I think they seem to make a certain kind of sense if you're coming from, depending on your direction you're coming from. Unfortunately, some of them sort of take people off into, I don't, they take them in a direction that I don't think there's any solid proof that the direction they're going in is going to be where we're headed. So all the plans and all the manipulations that they're doing in their own private life, and of course, I want to get my private life organized for whatever eventualities happen as well. So I'm interested in listening to things, but sometimes people are planning on doing some pretty drastic things in order to function in the world to come. What's going on with AI? And that's got me pretty disturbed personally. But anyway, so I've listened to a lot of different people with their ideas, and you've I'm sure heard some of them, and many of them just are brushed off immediately as conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I don't think that we should brush them off that quickly. Then we have things going on with there seems to be this big fight between people like Tucker Carlson and the administration, or people who support the administration, and there's certainly a lot of condescension and uh, just piling on to people who have a different idea than you have. Uh, I believe there's reasons for all that, but I don't think there's reason. The reasons are what some of these people want to think it is. What's going on with Marjorie Taylor Greene, or the what's the guy from Kentucky, the senator from Kentucky? What's their problem, and why is everybody saying that they're insane? Well, maybe they are, okay, but maybe they're not. Maybe the reason for what we're hearing is not what you think it is. So once again, I have paid attention to multiple ideas on where we're going, where we've come from, and where we're going to. You've heard about the Federal Reserve and what they did, the creation of it at Jekyll Island back in 1911 or 13, one or the other. You've probably might have heard about what the Wizard of Oz is really about, and all these other things. And some of these things I think have plenty grains of truth in them in many ways. Um, I don't know if they inform us totally about where we are and where we're going right now. I'm not saying they're not related. I'm just saying I'm not sure that where some people think we're going, or what's going on exactly is not there. I've got listen to one podcaster. He's thinking about leaving the country. Um, where would you go and why would you go there? But it's just everything's bad, and he's going to leave the country. Um, I don't know that that's a smart idea. I've heard other people who maybe for more from a religious reason, like it's the end of the world. Well, how do we exist with the end of the world? Or from their own science that there's anomalies out here in space that are affecting things, and we've got to be ready for um, everything going off grid. And how do you deal with that when we're a nation, a culture of being on grid, connected to everybody all the time? So how do you deal with that? Now, these are all of these are questions that are sort of far beyond what I'm talking about today. But I think was, I think the discussion, if you will listen to this video and listen to the various people talking about the various things they talk about, it's a thought-provoking discussion. And I will tell you that I have come to appreciate Susa Kakinta. She's one of the people in the discussion, where she's coming from, because to me, it makes a lot of sense. So I'll sort of give you a synopsis of it. And that is, the British Empire was a very powerful entity making a whole lot of money for a whole lot of people. And it was built on, if you remember from your own history, it was built on basically companies getting formed and going around the world and colonizing different places. It wasn't like the king was saying, "Okay, I'd like you to go to Colombia and set up a settlement." That's not what was going on. It was individual and privateers who were saying, "We think we can find a way to make a buck, and we're going to go." And this is why colonialism is so bad, right? Because colonialism was about going and extracting resources from all these regions around the world and bringing them back and using them just for Britain and making Britain wealthy. And so obviously many people are against colonialism. Now we are defining colonialism in different ways. The left does in different ways that aren't exactly historically related to that. But so you go to India, the East India Company gets set up. You go to India, you've got, in many cases, these companies would have their own armies. Maybe, and they even had some of them would go into contract with the crown, and they would pay for the British soldiers to come and fight on their behalf, or they would have their own. You've probably seen movies and seen these Indian soldiers. Those were working for the companies. So, and that's the way you maintain your power, is you suppressed the people who lived there and you took what they had and you brought it back home. We, in recent years, started doing something we thought, from a liberal point of view, and I used to think this was a great idea. Hey, let's shut down everything in the United States. Let's go over there and give those people overseas some jobs, and let them make a living, and we'll buy their services. And we've come to a bad place because of that, because we weren't really thinking it through. But anyway, the point is that that's how colonialism worked, and then we had the fall of the British Empire. Well, if you're a guy who's making a lot of money, you're not really interested in losing your money. You're not interested in losing your power. So you're going to do all you can to hold on to it. And listening to this is where Kokinda and her group talks about how the British. And this isn't the average British, as it never is. It's never the average person, right? It's not the guy who lives on the corner of your small town. It's people who have power and money, and they continue to figure out how to generate power and money. And so they don't want to lose that. So as the military might of the British Empire waned, as the ability to have these armies all around the world, as we saw after World War II, all of a sudden Britain had to pull out, France, all these colonial powers had to pull out of the places that they had power in. And so how did you maintain power then? Well, then you basically helped to set up whoever the government was there, and you give them you'd buy off the heads of these governments, is what you do. We've been seeing this going on for many decades. The United States has done this as well. Henry Kissinger, that was the way that was part of his thing. So very interesting. So how do these people maintain their power and maintain their network, etc.? And so in the case, Kokinda says you have the, Chatham House, groups like the Chatham House. You have groups like the Fabian Society, which is they're a communist society, but they are very powerful in Britain. You have the Trilateral Commission. I remember back, when Bill Clinton was president, I remember people talking about the Trilateral Commission, and how they would have weekends where all these high level people would go. And if you were a young and up and coming political figure or business figure, you'd go to that too. Well, so largely, what I thought, oh, that's great. This is the way we train our future leaders. Well, it is the way we train our future leaders. The problem is, it's not something that is innocent. This is the way the people who run the world train and bring in their future sidekicks, etc. Okay. So anyway, that's the way Kokinda sees it, and it helps to it sort of fits what the reality that I see in the world a lot more than a lot of these other things do. And if you listen to the conversation, I think it's an enlightening conversation as these people talk about a world, what's going on in the world right now, and in relationship to their worldview, that we have this empire that is no longer physical, but is more like financial, right? And because it's financial, it buys things. If it, I don't own the beach resort, but if I want to go to the beach, all I have to do is have enough money to go to the beach, right? I can go and pay for $1,000 for a room, and I can go to the beach and enjoy a beach resort. That's money. That's not me owning the beachfront property and controlling it. So there's a way, but I do control it simply by me and many of you. We control it simply by saying we're going to give money to the beach resort, and the beach resort will exist for our behalf, for our use. Okay. So I invite you to listen to this, and it might pique your interest. It may explain some of the things that I hear so many ideas about what's going on with Donald Trump and the Middle East and everything. And I'm not saying that they don't make sense when you're coming from the particular viewpoint of the people who are espousing the idea. So if you buy totally into their idea, what they're saying makes total sense. But it may not be really explaining what's really going on. And I think this conversation is a good one to listen to and hear these different people talking about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it, and have a good day. As I always say, if you are looking for truth and you really want it, all you have to do is pray to God. God, I want to know the truth and only the truth. And I'm confident He'll provide it for you. Have a good day.